Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us for another scene. I'm Felix Farrow, a young programmer with BFI Film Academy, and in this scene series, we'll be catching up with a selection of award-winning filmmakers from the BFI's Future Film Festival earlier this year. So for today's scene, I feel incredibly privileged to be speaking to Shane Chung about his film Check Please, taking home Best Director supported by Sony and International Special Mention supported by the London School Trust at Future Film Festival. Check Please follows in the footsteps of many great festival nominees by taking an incredibly simple premise and just like running with it, featuring an exchange of fists, brooms, and chopsticks as a Korean and a Korean American vie to pick up the bill at a restaurant. Check Please has all the stylings of classic 1980s Hong Kong martial arts comedy, taking cues from the likes of Jackie Chan, Stephen Chow, and Sammo Hung. But beneath its phenomenal slapstick stunt work is a surprisingly earnest tale of fraught Korean identity and the in-betweenness of diaspora life in the US. I wanted to portray Asian Americans in film that go beyond a tired immigrant storyline or a discrimination storyline, Shane writes, and instead focus on the relatable internal struggle of being too Korean for America, but being too American for Korea. Shane graduated from Illinois Northwestern University last year and has already had a number of projects under his belt, both as a director and in below the line positions. However, Check Please is his first selected for an international festival. We were lucky to have Shane in person at Future Film Festival this year, and some of you might have already enjoyed his short there. But for those who didn't, remember you can find it today on the BFI YouTube channel. And I highly recommend and encourage you to go and seek it out. But I think just with that, we're just going to move right on to questions straight away. Shane, first off, for people who somehow haven't seen Check Please and for whom that introduction didn't hasn't somehow already convinced them, can you just give us a brief rundown of what the show is, what it's about, and yeah, tell us about it.
So Check Please was my senior thesis film from university. And it's about two stubborn Koreans who go out to dinner with each other. And when the time comes to pay for the bill, right, they both want to treat each other to the meal. And they can't agree on who's picking up the check, so they start beating like the living daylights out of each other with like every martial arts move and like props around them, and it keeps escalating until like the tagline for the film is like one of them pays the bill and the other one pays with his life, which is that's the kind of direction the film has going in.
Nice. I mean, it's kind of it's quite unusual I find because I feel like filmmakers are usually advised to start small, particularly when they're starting their first couple of projects. When you're doing your film degree, when you're film studies, you're doing your undergraduate, until they have the support of like a bigger crew, more funding, that kind of thing. So this is in some ways like a really peculiar choice, a fantastic one, but quite unusual, I guess, by the standard of a lot of either Future Film Festival nominees or even just young filmmakers. What made you feel that a martial arts action film like this was the right form for what is, like we said, like an otherwise very, earnest and tender story?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point because like when I first wrote the script, I wrote it and I was like, well, that was fun, but it'll never get made because it's like impossible to make. It's just like unproducible. But luckily, I had the support of like so many talented people at my university, specifically Grace Wagner, who is a fight choreographer for this film. If she was not on board, none of this would have been possible. And like the fact that I knew her meant that like, okay, so there is a shot that we can do this at a student level, which I'm very thankful for. The other thing is that like I like the tone. I like things that have levity and are kind of like irreverent a little bit, not taking themselves too seriously. I watch a lot of short student films, and I think sometimes they tend to be very drama focused and it's very serious. And this is a little contrarian, but I was like, why not, guys, let's have fun, you know? And I want there to be meaning, you know, like it's like I picked this up actually at the BFI Fest. I can't remember who said it, but it was like you can't if your message is like spinach, right? You can't just force feed your audience spinach. You have to like go like here comes the airplane and then, strike like right when their guard is down. And I feel like that is the best way to kind of sneak dramatic topics into a more kind of like unserious format.
It's not to say that the deeper part of Chet Piece is spinach, but yeah,
Right,
I
right.
see what you mean, yeah. I mean, on that note, like, do you ever see yourself transitioning into sort of slightly smaller scale films, that are less about that, have that variety of action and violence, or do you think that you found a little bit of a niche here and you want to continue with that?
I think I would be very happy if I made something like Check Please for the rest of my life. Like I would be But I mean, I would like to try a drama as well. This was a very like, it's a very technical film, very like camera focused, prod focused, choreo focused. And in a future project, might be fun to be more actor centric next time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, you've already spoken a little bit about the things that have inspired, where Chip Please has come from. Um, we've already mentioned there's Jackie Chan in there, there's Stephen Chow. What sort of other films were you watching either, maybe the films that you grew up on that inspired something like this, or maybe when you were producing it, these were the kind of films that you were showing to your crew to give them the vibe that this is what we're going for.
So I mean, you hit the nail on the head with most of the influences. So the biggest one for sure was Drunken Master 2. There was like A Better Tomorrow, John Woo. Lots of those old school kind of like, I mean, those were what we had to learn from basically. It was a very studied film. From Beijing with Love by Stephen Chow, also a central influence. Weirdly enough, there are a lot of like little disparate other movies that influenced it randomly. Like during post, I watched Hundreds of Beavers, which totally changed up the way we did like post, and even the music selection in the film was inspired by that film as well. And there's a lot of like other little things in there, Grand Budapest. Um, yeah.
You mentioned it a little bit there, but did you find that the scope and the vibe of the film changed a lot from, the first inception of that idea to, like you said, moving on to post later on, but then in the middle as well? Did you find, yeah, the film you were making kept kind of changing as your influences changed, or, as you brought on new voices, new ideas?
Yeah, actually, it did morph a lot. But I would say the core of the film kind of stayed the same.
Mm,
It was always kind of gonna be what it ended up as, just kind of like the little details on
mm,
how it ended up there, like changed. Like we were gonna try to do all original score,
mm,
but there was too much of a time crunch at the end, and it just wasn't possible. So it's great that we discovered that the music library was going to work because like the music is already all there, and
mm,
the music library that we use, like DeWolf Music Library, just has that kind of sound. It's like
mm.
their niche is that kind of like vintage sound. So we were just like, okay,
Suits.
let's just use that. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, moving on to the topic, I want to sort of know about the shooting of the film itself. Food, I feel like, is quite a kind of instrumental part in Check Please, and it's something that I think if you ever read any director, an interview with director talking about working with food, particularly hot food or anything like that, it's a nightmare. It's a faff. It's like mess everywhere. I'm thinking food, but also any of the various little bits of prop work you included, whether it be the kimchi, the chopsticks. How difficult was it working with incredibly finicky little bits and bobs to get Check Please done?
Oh man, it was so hard. Let's see. So we did, thankfully, nothing went wrong. But we had a lot of safeguards. So there's that one scene where someone is holding like this chopsticks
Yeah.
over Richard, right? I was so deathly afraid of it get actually staining his shirt. So we had two shirts on set.
I was
So
gonna like,
just in case.
were there napkins or something below the shirt as well? Was there,
No, no, no.
no.
That was completely. It was just
Oh my
hanging
God.
over. So I was
Lifesaver.
just like holding my breath every time we did that shot. But thankfully nothing happened. We had those like what is it? Those laundry detergent pens on set. So
Yeah.
just in case anything happened, we could do it out. We had doubles of both One and Richard's clothing. So just in case anything went wrong, we could just like swap it out. So we wouldn't be like losing any time or anything like that. Um, it, Funny story in regards to the meat. I was up like before the shoot days where someone gets like meat thrown at him, right? We did like about 30 takes of that.
Mhm.
I was up at 5 a.m. and I was grilling meat on my stove just before set every day. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like I'm marinating the meat, I'm cooking the meat like at
It's,
5
it's,
a.m.
it's got to be good looking meat, It can't just be like the meat from 3 days ago, or
No,
whatever.
that's what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
of course, someone has to catch it in his mouth, right? So it can't
Yeah.
be like 3-day-old meat. It has
No,
to be
no,
fresh.
no, no,
We
no.
gotta treat our actors right. Yeah,
Nice.
it was hard, but I mean our prop team and costume team like really pulled it all together. So thankfully like it all got done, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Nice. I know that in the original director statement, when we previewed this for Future Film Festival, you you have this really lovely this phrase. You say that some of your favorite films are like magic tricks, and that the sort of things that leave the audience asking, like, how did they do that? I'm wondering what sort of like directorial magic tricks are you most proud of in Check Please?
I think like editing is the magic trick of movies making. It's just like you can get away. Oh my God, we got away with like so much in the edit for this film. It was me and Maddie, the editor, and we um dude, if you look at the film, there's like maybe about 3 points where you can see the boom mic like fully. Uh, and the whole third sequence, whole third fight has been like totally reshuffled in the edits. Like it's out of sequence. Like if you read the script, it's like in a different sequence compared to the edit. And this is a little insane, but like I went in and individually retimed every single hit in the film so that it just like has that extra snap.
Mm.
Um, and I think no, it only needs to hold up for one viewing, and I think it always does. That's the kind of magic of it. And if you look kind of a little closer, you can see, oh, I see how they did that. But I mean, if it only needs to hold up for the first viewing, which I think is
Mhm.
great, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's a testament to like the magic trick editing that we were able to pull off.
But even in that though, I mean, I've seen the film, I don't know how many, like dozens of times now. But firstly, just watching it originally when previewing, it's just the type of thing I kept coming, wanting to come back and watch. But even, in preparing for this, and I, I don't know whether it's just because I'm probably not the best viewer, the most insightful viewer, but also I think just the charm of the film overrides any slip ups or whatever. That boomer, you never notice that because you're just kind of locked in. You're having fun with it. I don't know. Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
that's good to hear. I mean, it's great that we got away with, and I think it's scrappy stuff like that was part of the look, honestly.
yeah.
As part of that retro throwback, because at the time, right, like in the 80s, that was cutting edge. But
Mm.
now that we are in the 2020s, we kind of like now we can kind of scope that kind of smartly
It's kind of
to
nostalgic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm. Moving, more onto the tone and the sort of central theme of the story. I think obviously this has a, really phenomenal sense of playfulness, but it also speaks, we've acknowledged this a little bit already, but speaks to this quite widely held anxiety amongst second generation diaspora people of belonging and how small rituals, things like covering a bill, this reinforces identity and heritage. And I'm wondering, how has Check Please been received amongst the people it depicts? Have you had conversations about it with your parents, with people around you? How have they found it?
Yeah, actually, it's had a fantastic reception. So we've been to a couple film festivals now, and always, I get a lot of compliments on like the action, which is very great, which is fantastic. But there are some people who come up to me and they're like, "Hey, I'm Korean American, I'm Mexican American, I'm Chinese American, and I like really like that. I feel seen and heard by this film. Like that really hit me in the heart." And I'm like, "You are who I made this film for. Like you are like the actual target audience."
Yeah.
And it's been great. It's had a like far better reception than I possibly could have imagined because it's like, it went to London. And I
Yeah.
I always thought that it's like I was because it's a film so about Korean Americans, and it's just like, oh, I'll do the little tour in the US and then
Mm.
that's probably as good as it'll get. And to my shock, it is such a universal theme. I guess because everyone thinks about like belonging and what their place is in the world, and nationalities, especially now that we're in like in a far more kind of like trans-global environment.
Mhm.
And I think it's just like everybody kind of relates to that. And I'm very happy with the reception it's gotten.
I'm when, moving more onto your filmmaking roots, when did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker? And yeah, maybe this is kind of like an insanely massive question, but like, how did you go about making that happen?
I don't know, from like a young age, I was always like some of my like earliest home movies, I would be like using my phone to like on the camcorder to do like these stupid skits with my like action figures. So
Mm.
that was kind of like the first, I've always had that kind of bug.
Hmm.
And in high school definitely was when my film teacher, Mr. Garland, he really kind of encouraged me to keep pushing and like make student projects. I think
Mm.
it helps that also I had a great friend group in high school that kept making stuff on our own
Mm.
time. And that continued into university. Had the support of great teachers who kind of
Mm.
helped me out. And I don't know. I went to Northwestern University, which is not really known for its film school, but I think if you look anywhere, there are like great little film programs everywhere. And I think as if you get a good film, good friends, and a good mentor out of your program, I think that's a great result for your
Yeah,
film program. And I
yeah.
think just kind of keep making stuff in your own time. I was on set like almost every weekend during all of film school, and that really like that's the best education you could possibly have,
Hmm.
just being on set every day.
Hmm. It's interesting you mentioned, surrounding yourself with people that are making things like you are. You said throughout high school, you're friends with people who are making films. You're constantly kind of, you're working together. I think as one thing I feel like I've learned of all of these scene interviews that we've done as Film Academy, it's always been everyone we've interviewed, it's always pointing out that maybe they didn't have professional experience until years and years later, but they're kind of like the overriding thing that unites them all is they were all just like friends with loads of other wannabe filmmakers throughout school, throughout university, throughout, later life, how whenever it might be, people just surround themselves with those sorts of people and it reinforces you. It's really lovely.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I would there's a certain gravity that comes to that. If you are kind of crazy, you will find other crazy people.
yeah.
Um, and the embarrassing thing is like, oh, I think I'm the only person from my high school friend group that's still doing like film full time. And I'm just like, oh, I thought guys,
I
you
thought we
were
were in
joking.
this.
I was I was doing this for real.
Yeah. As a filmmaker based in the US, I'm really curious to know about how your experience, you're used to North American festivals. How did BFI Future Film Festival pan out for you? What did you like about it? How did it compare to the US festivals you've attended?
Honestly, this was my favorite festival experience, no lie. Because I didn't, so at these other US festivals, I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to even screen there. But all the people there are much farther along. I mean, they're 40. They're like much farther along in their career paths compared to me. And I kind of have to pretend in conversations, I kind of have to pretend to be already doing the thing that I
Yeah.
want to do
Hmm.
because I'm not quite there yet. So the great
Hmm.
thing about Future Film Festival is that I'm surrounded by people at the same stage in their careers as I am.
Hmm.
we're all trying to make it in the thing.
Hmm.
And I think dropping that kind of like I can just comfortably talk to them. Everyone was so welcoming, and we were all like, "Yeah, let's figure it out together." I
Hmm.
think that, and Future Film Festival is genuinely in the business of trying to help like young
Hmm.
filmmakers trying to get their career started. And I think I was really appreciative on that. I mean, it was just like the perfect right place, right time to
Nice.
be, I think. And it was a great experience. Super lovely.
Nice. Amazing. What were some of your favorite shorts from other filmmakers that you saw throughout the festival, if you have any?
Oh man. Okay, so Dylan's short, A Few More Minutes, Please,
Yes.
yes, screened right before. We were making jokes all festival long that we were like, isn't it funny that they put the two restaurant films like screened back to back with Please in the title?
Hmm.
And his film was so fantastic. I
Hmm.
thought it was great. It was super playful. Honestly, everything I'm looking for is like super playful, but also has that serious, it has something to say. It's all not just like it's not like 100% dumb fun, although that is great, but there's also something it wants to say.
Hmm.
I also really liked Sobe's short, A Natural Sadist.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
thought that was so fantastically done,
Hmm.
very fantastical and beautifully shot. And I
Hmm.
also met her, and wow, I was blown away. I thought for sure that that film was gonna like win so many awards.
Mm. Obviously, as part of your Best Director win at Future Film Festival, you were awarded about £1,500 from Sony. What do you think you see yourself putting the money towards?
So that money has actually already gone to helping me get to London, and which is great because it covered most of the fees from London, and I would not have been able to attend, honestly, if that was not possible.
Mm.
And I think it was such a great opportunity. I'm very thankful to Sony that I was able to take advantage of this
Mhm.
opportunity to go there in person. I mean,
Mm.
invaluable opportunity to meet all the filmmakers, so many industry people, and like really get to
Mhm.
see the film on a big screen on an international stage. Honestly, like that would not have been possible
Yeah.
without the sponsorship, which is great. So it's yeah, that very thankful for that.
And likewise, you'll also be receiving mentoring as well from Sony. How do you feel like mentoring can help a filmmaker's creative process? And I suppose, what do you hope to get out of it?
I think, well, this industry is all like who you know and in
Mm,
networking. So I think this is a great opportunity to kind of like get to know my mentor Dan, who is fantastic. We had a call earlier that I think about 3 weeks ago, and he was super friendly and open.
mm,
It was great to get to know him, and just kind of get to know more people, specifically bridging the shorts to features gap, which is like the hardest thing I think in the filmmaking career. That kind of like leap of faith that you need to
mm.
make. Hopefully demystifying that process, getting feedback on my script and reel, and all those things. And I don't know, getting to know more people in the industry is always very welcome.
Nice. Do you, I mean, on this note of, looking towards the future and finding new projects and maybe even thinking about features, do you have any new projects that, that are in the pipeline, things you've started writing or things you've maybe even st already started on, um, that you're like looking forward to bringing out in the next couple of years and even the next couple of months?
A lot of irons in the fire. But the one I'm most interested in right now is Check Please the Feature. It's currently at the treatment phase. And I'm very excited in the direction that it's going. It's kind of like it has the same like emotional and core and tone, but it
Mhm.
just takes it to like a completely like wackier, crazier, bigger place. And it kind of expands on the setting a bit more too. There's a villain now, which is super cool. I'm very excited about that. That's the pipe dream, honestly. If I got to make that's like the project if I got to make and did it well, I would like be
Nice.
I would die happy. Like I would be very happy.
Amazing. I don't think even I knew about that. I think that's news to me about
Yeah.
Check Please too, but for yourself, nice.
Fingers crossed, maybe one day.
I will we'll be there at the premiere, don't worry. We'll be there. I suppose for anyone in the audience watching who is kind of is watching this and watching you talking about bringing a feature out, and watching it in kind of incredible envy, what advice would you give to a young filmmaker who is maybe just starting out, and is trying to find their place and trying to find their style and is trying to get their projects made?
I would say get into a good film program that helps you like really produce a good film and that'll give you time. I
Mhm.
spent about 9 months of my life on this, so it's like kind of my baby. And this would not have been possible in any other setting, so I think that was super super useful. I would say don't water your film idea down for anybody. You will have plenty of time to do that, I imagine, in the industry, so don't start now. um, so make it as crazy and indulgent as possible. And I think, I don't know, when if you're coming up with a good idea, if you're like thinking about it, I think a lot of first shorts or good first features are about like, oh, I like this. I want to make my version of this,
Mhm.
which is definitely like my film,
Mhm.
100%. Like it doesn't even try to hide the fact that it's like, oh, I want to do my version of blank.
Mhm.
And I think that's a great place to start, to imitate, because that really forces you to go study. And I think that really helps you make a better film. Like this was just honestly, Check Please was just an excuse to like watch a bunch of martial arts films and like take notes.
Nice. I feel like maybe there then is as good a place as any to call it then. I think, yeah, that is a pretty phenomenal piece of advice to go out on, I think. Yeah, wow. So yeah, that concludes today's scene, I think. Obviously, I just want to say an immense thank you to Shane, not only for joining us here this afternoon, but for bringing such a really wonderfully refreshing film to Future Film Festival. I really do think I speak for absolutely all of this year's attendees that we can't wait to see what we get up to next, that we can't wait to see Check Please too. We will be there.
Thank you.
Um, of course, I'm going to remind everyone once more that Check Please is available at the link on the BFI's YouTube channel for today only. If you're watching this and you still haven't seen it, you've got no excuse. You've watched like a 30-minute interview. You should probably like be invested in watching the short now. Um, but yeah, Film Academy will be back next week when another one of our young programmers talks to directors Paula Espada and Andrea Adame about their best film and best international film winning short Red Lace. And you can find all of our scenes on the BFI YouTube channel. Yeah, and I think that's absolutely everything. Thank you to everyone for watching. And thank you, of course, absolutely first and foremost to Shane for blessing us with a wonderful film and for joining us and just being so wonderfully chatty and charismatic. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you for having me, Felix. It was a great time. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Thank you, guys. And yeah, have a lovely afternoon, good morning, good night. See you, folks. Bye.